on STL Sports Central. Brenden Schaefer, the future's so bright he's got to wear shades.
That's right.
And Randy Karraker with you. We're presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. One thing we've learned before this show even got on the air today, we know Brenden Schaefer. He's tried and true. He's Truman the Tiger. Another Mizzou alum, though, for whatever reason, hates Missouri.
Yep.
And really doesn't like Ahmad Hardy at all.
Yep.
You and I have Heisman vote, and I'm ready to vote for him right now. Matthew Rocchio is saying there's no way that us, the voters, will give Ahmad Hardy the Heisman Trophy.
They could not give me a Heisman vote. I've bungled that opportunity. I've been too openly homer toward Ahmad Hardy. Well, you know what, Randy? If Ahmad Hardy doesn't win it, it's because Bo Prabula did. And so we live in a world where it's going to be one or the other. Mm-hmm. Could it be like a Adam Wainwright, Chris Carpenter situation where Tim Lincecum sneaks in because the two teammates take votes away from one another? That could end up as an issue, but it can be overcome. I think it can be overcome, and so we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
One time we had Keith Law on the show back at 101, and it was after that. He had a vote, and he was one of the guys that voted for Lincecum.
Yeah.
And Keith Law, it was me and Rammer and DeMarco, and Keith Law said, I travel around, I watch all these pictures. And Rammer said, and you voted for Lincecum? He said, yeah. And he said, well, why are you wasting your time? Remember, he got into it with Keith Law. He didn't like that.
A little contentious
interview. Why are you wasting your time?
It's good radio.
It's just crazy because I can hear that in Rammer's voice.
Yeah.
And that's such a wild thing to say on a radio interview.
It was funny.
I want to hear the follow-up question. What came after that?
Yeah, I think the follow-up was, well, Keith, good having you.
Yeah, probably so. It's been a nice visit. Well, we just got here. No, it's been a nice visit.
So I said that before you were doing a radio show. Before you made your way over here, I was saying to Matthew and Wilson, I said, the way Michael McGreevy is going, he might be better than a back of the rotation. He might be a number 2 or a number 3 in his career. He's 10-3 with a 3.63. He's got a career strikeout rate of 16.1%. He doesn't walk people. Only 3.9% walk rate for his career. And I'll start with this because you are somebody who pays very close attention to the sport of baseball. Do you think that as a baseball, let's call it not a fandom, let's start with the media. Are media and maybe baseball people too hung up on the strikeout?
Ooh, interesting. I don't think they're too hung up on it. I think you can do well without it, but is it sustainable over the course of a career and years to do it? Yes, in certain cases, but when you have the strikeout, I think it can be, you can sort of make assumptions. You're more comfortable making assumptions about the way a guy's career could play out versus when you have a level of confidence that it's a rarity for him to have those big strikeout games.
Are you good with a guy who has in his career 5.9 strikeouts per 9? Is that now he's not going to be Hunter Green, who's at 12 per 9?
No, that's half.
Yeah,
that's about half.
Yeah. Now I'm not saying that he can be number 1. Is he going to wind up being Max Scherzer? No, but could he be a number 2, or could he be a guy that starts the third game of a playoff series for you if he pitches the way he has so far in his career? And this is only 17 starts, but the stuff and the numbers, the profile kind of looks to me like a guy that could start the second or third game of a playoff series.
You could get away with it. I think there's a realm in which, and I think he'll improve as time goes along. Like, I don't think we've seen the ceiling of Michael McGreevy. Part of the idea of getting him as many starts as possible this year was to get his feet wet and to know that, like, all right, as a new year comes in 2026, maybe, front office ownership isn't ready to spend big, but does experience lead to a step forward from Michael McGreevy that makes the 26 Cardinals a little better than people think right now that it could be? Like, that's a possibility for Michael McGreevy for sure. But like, if you're really talking about, it just depends on the level of contender you're looking at. Like, could the Cardinals with a McGreevy as your number 3 sneak into a postseason and maybe win a series? You could get away with that. I think he settles in as more like a 3.5, 3 to 4 in a team that's truly like a Brewers level win in the division. That's the expectation. That's what we do here. He's probably more of that mid-rotation guy, but that's what you're looking at right now and about this year's team and saying, well, he's been probably their second best starter, maybe. I mean, statistically, what's Sonny Gray's ERA even, right? Like it's just been one of those years where everybody's in the 4s, if not 5s. And so you look at the team's record and say, gosh, it's a wonder they're as close to 500 as they are. Michael McGreevy has a spot in the Cardinals rotation long term. It's just the upside is an interesting question when you bring up the K numbers, because to your question, no, I don't look at 5.9 for 9 strikeouts per 9 inning. And I need to know a lot more information about that pitcher to believe he's going to be successful if that's the first number you tell me about a guy. But I think McGreevy has a lot of the other stuff, including makeup, including pitch maker, including he's kind of a he's got a little snarl to him out there. He's got a mentality that I think can really serve him well. And the degree to which he's able to maybe add more swing and miss, maybe that's not a possibility, but he challenges guys into situations where they hit into weak contact, and maybe that is sustainable for him as he grows.
Now, I want to get a couple of things out here. Number one, I'm still of the belief, and I think the Cardinals still are, that Quinn Matthews can be a guy that is a front of the rotation guy. Clearly, Doyle is a guy that can be a front of the rotation guy. And I just keep hearing the name and talking to people in the organization here in St. Louis and throughout the organization that are seeing guys in the minors and that scouted. The Cardinals have every belief that Tanner Franklin can be a stud. The second Tennessee pitcher that they took in their second rounder, Tanner Franklin, was really good. And I think we talked about it during the draft. One of the people that was involved said, if he would have been on another team other than Tennessee that was loaded with pitchers, that he probably would have been a first-round pick because he has that sort of ability. But because he was on Tennessee pitching out of the bullpen, he didn't get as much play as a guy like Liam Doyle did. But they think Franklin can be a front of the rotation guy too.
Yeah, and I mean, another guy with that kind of swing and miss quality, you hope, had 52 strikeouts in 38 innings for Tennessee earlier this year. He's pitched even a little bit more than Liam Doyle has in the minors, 3 starts compared to just 2, I believe, for Doyle. He's walked 5 guys in 6 innings, but that's a small sample. 9 strikeouts is what you look at and go, all right, like hone that stuff. And they believe he can be somebody that can be a factor. And what a steal he would be in the second round if that ends up being the case.
Now, another guy that has been, I will say, disrespected. I'll say I have disrespected him is Thomas Ajacey. And maybe Thomas Ajacey is better than they or I think he is. When the Cardinals got him, what I was told from people that watched him play right off the bat is, he doesn't have the arm to play infield in the majors. I think he does. And then it was, at best, he's a utility guy. And that still might be the case. But he's done nothing to dissuade me from thinking that he can play. I mean, what has he done wrong? What has he done to show that he can at least get a shot as an everyday guy?
Yeah, and if he doesn't get a shot as an everyday guy, I think you're talking about a version of the Cardinals that if he's on your bench playing that utility role, but in there 3-4 times a week, and filling in daily when there are injuries, like that's what organizational depth looks like.
Especially as a right-handed hitter on this team, right?
Absolutely. And so, I mean, he's hitting 263. I know batting average isn't the end-all be-all, but that's above the league average. Does he have any pop? He showed some pop in the minors last year, hit 20 homers in AAA and in homers last night. Like, does he develop into that a little bit more? I think he's a guy that certainly, as you're thinking about next year, that's the role he fills. There's no more Memphis for him. It's time to maybe take that next step, almost regardless of how many infielders might be traded. Sajacey is at least in that super utility role, playing several times per week. And maybe you have the makeup of a roster next year that's a little bit more conducive to, all right, some pitch hit opportunities, some defensive subbing late, like allowing a manager to kind of organize things. Whereas I think this year, Ollie started that way, like the first week or so. And we saw, Pages is coming in for Herrera to catch, and they're moving Walker to here. Like they were doing a lot. And then they kind of said, it's more about the runway for guys to see what our lefty bats can do against left on left and find out about players. I think next year, hopefully it looks a little bit different to where you can try to win each game and not really say, well, but what happens if Gorman takes that left on left? Well, if he hasn't shown that that's the best thing for that moment, maybe by next year you're willing to do some different things. And Thomas Sajacey could be very involved in that.
I wonder if next year, though, if the pitching staff is what if the pitching staff is what the position players were this year. It just has the feel that next year is going to be another runway year, but not for the position players or pitchers.
For the pitchers. Who does that incorporate in your opinion?
Well, number one, the entire bullpen.
Yeah.
You have to figure out who your closer is going to be. I think you have to set things up at the back end and things you can't really find out during the course of spring training, because until the lights are bright and you have the third deck, getting that 27th out is a different animal altogether. Being in high leverage situations is completely different. And then, okay, so McGreevy's he's not going to even get to 20 starts this year. So you want to find out about him for a full season. Now that Liberatore knows what it takes to deal with a full season, is he going to be able to accomplish that? Is Andre Palante even part of the equation? What is Kyle Leahy next year? I think there's a ton. And I know Katie Wu is convinced that they will move Sonny Gray, which would open up another spot. So I kind of think your whole rotation is probably one where people at different levels are trying to figure out what they're capable of.
Yeah, and if they do move Sonny Gray, which I think he should be a San Francisco Giant, that makes all the sense in the world. From like a climate standpoint, from they're looking to, they're always willing to add a player of salary. And I don't want to completely take the Cardinals off the hook. If they end up being able to trade Sonny and not have to eat the majority of that contract, my expectation would be Heimblum ownership have a willingness to eat a little bit more and go into free agency and target certain positions that you feel like you don't have enough of, which I think could be a starter in that bargain bin. I'm not saying it wouldn't feel like low-hanging fruit, but I think some quality low-hanging fruit is potentially something that could help the Cardinals next year with the situation that they're in currently. So I would be almost for that. Not to say that they don't potentially lose even more games, because as much as Sonny Gray has probably been a disappointment relative to what they're paying him and certainly what they would be paying him next year, I also think that there's a floor there that he's not going to dip below, and you can't necessarily say that about the next man up. It could be pretty lean, but like you said, that's maybe the runway aspect of it.
And we need to do a homework project, because I'm on the same page. Like, remember a few years ago when Taijuan Walker had been hurt, and I think I had no problems if the Cardinals would have signed him.
Yeah.
But you need to find that guy that's done it before, maybe is a bounce back candidate.
Pay him more than he might give you too. Yeah. Like if you pay him $5, $6, $7 million for a guy that's coming off of an injury, that doesn't mean that he's going to pay out, but the risk is pretty minimal at that point with upside.
Michael Wacha has done started with the Padres, had a great year with the Padres, and now with the Royals. I certainly didn't expect to see the Michael Wacha that we've seen for the last 3 years.
And do you have now going into 2026 folks in the organization that you didn't have before that could potentially take advantage and help a reclamation project? I don't think the Cardinals have had like a reclamation project type of pitching development group prior to this year. Rob Cerfolio, Matt Pierpont. Now you're talking about guys that we're going to, whether they're sharp or not, we seem to think that they are sharp. Let that be tested by doing what the Brewers did with Jose Quintana, which that wasn't even really a reclamation guy, but you can find guys like that, and your risk is not zero, right? Because you're paying $5, $6, $7, $8 million on a 1-year contract, maybe with an option. There's no risk in that, but it's minimal compared to the potential upside if you hit. And it seems like the Cardinals haven't often signed those guys in that bucket. The guys they've signed are the guys where you're paying for the floor. Like, what you're going to get from Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, and what you're probably not going to get, which is big time upside. I would be okay with, and look, I don't know if ownership is, but I think what the roster calls for when you've got these Leahy and these Palante situations swirling around, what the roster may call for is take a shot or two, because if those guys don't pan out, well, you still want to see a Leahy maybe get it extended. I think it's a perfect offseason to do it with at least one guy where, you might have paid him and it may not work out, but that's the business. That's what you have to do sometimes.
When you mention reclamation projects, were you watching the game a couple of weeks ago when John Smoltz was doing the Cardinals? And he talked about how when he came here from Boston, and with Boston, he had an 8.33 ERA in 8 games. And then he comes here, walks through the door of the clubhouse, and La Russa says, "You're tipping your pitches. We'll fix you." And he winds up having a 4.26. He pitched really well for the Cardinals when he was here, and probably should have started a playoff game. But the Cardinals fixed him just because they knew what he was doing wrong.
Right.
And that's part of a reclamation project.
I kind of said that was what the Brewers were going to do with Fetty, by the way.
Yeah,
I was like, they're going to tell him the 2 things to not throw, to not do, and he's going to be, somewhat tenable again. And there you go.
Yeah. And by the way, that happened when Lance Lynn went to the Dodgers a few years ago too. He was horrible with the White Sox. I think he had the worst ERA in all of baseball. Then he goes to the Dodgers at the deadline and winds up having in his first month with them like a 1 ERA. And then he kind of struggled down the stretch.
Right.
Are you pleased? Does it mean anything at all to you that this Cardinal team, which is 4 games under 500 right now, but they did win the season series against the Reds? They played the last game against the Reds today, 7-5 against Cincinnati.
Am I pleased by that?
Yeah, because in the division, 5-5 against the Cubs, 4-6 against Milwaukee with the series to go against the Brewers,
okay,
and 6-7 against the Pirates. So you have a chance. You'd have to get really hot. Well, I know you don't play Pittsburgh anymore, but you have a chance to win the season series against the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Reds.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that being pleased. In this division is better than, like, every year we come into the season and we go, oh, the NL Central is so bad, it's going to be so down again this year. And every year I kind of look at it and go, well, I don't think there's a walkover team anymore in the division. You know, even the Pirates kind of make modest improvements to where they're not losing 105 games anymore. I think you need to still, though, beat up on the division a little bit more to be where, like, a Milwaukee is. I'd be curious to know what's their overall record against the Central. I imagine it's better. To finish around 500 against the Central feels like the way the season is gone, but whether they win one more or lose one more to the Reds, it doesn't really make a tangible difference to me when I look up and go, 6-7 against the Pirates. You needed to go 9-4. I mean, that's really what I would still expect, even against a Pirates team that's not losing 110 games.
Yeah. By the way, the Brewers against the Central, the wonder of the interwebs.
It'll tell you, huh?
Yeah, they are 29-17.
Sounds right.
But they're good against everybody. 21-9 against the East, 16-13 against the West. They're just a team. One other note, by the way, against the Cardinals. Remember, they started 2-12 on the road.
They did, yeah.
And then they got to 21-21 on the road. And now they're 32-43. So they have gone 11-22 since they got to 500 on the road. That's another part of the game. And that's part of maturity. That's part of the process, is learning how to win on the road. And you had one really great stretch in the middle of the season on the road. Otherwise, they've kind of sucked there.
Yeah, and, at the beginning of the season, Ollie Marmol pushed back when asked about it. He says, it's just a talking point. It's kind of like last year, you couldn't win the first game of a series until you did. That was his kind of thing that he pointed out. And he said, eventually we're going to start winning more on the road, and then you won't talk about it anymore. But they hit their stride and then sort of tailed off, as you mentioned. And we talk a lot about the Cardinals being a young team, and that's not like 100% accurate because they've got veterans, but they do have, like, when you look at the majority of their core, they do have a lot of players with less experience. And maybe that's the reason that you go on the road. And it's like your routines, not just what happens between the white lines, but like, what do you do leaving for a road trip? What do you do on the first day there? What do you like, just the day-to-day of it. And then some road trips are 3 cities, right? Like, how do you manage that as human beings more so than players? Because inevitably some of that'll bleed onto the playing surface. Maybe that's part of it, Randy. And maybe this is a year where it kind of had to be a learning experience that way. Maybe I'm giving them too much of the benefit of the doubt with that, but I would wonder if that's something that next year can look a little bit different because, okay, a lot of you guys maybe experience this for the first time, or that, you're just kind of getting your feet wet. That's no longer going to be something we can point to in 2026, I hope.
By the way, we didn't mention this off the bat, but the Cardinals did place Wilson Contreras on the 10-day IL with a shoulder strain, and Jose Fermin is back.
He's back, baby. Yep.
So
that he is.
Who plays first, Gorman?
I think we'd get a look at Gorman there. Burley probably would be somebody that makes a lot of sense as well.
So you go Newt.
Give those outfielders a chance to play. If you wanted to plug Herrera in again in the outfield, you could maybe do that.
You can take a look at Herrera at first base.
I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. They kind of have to pick a spot for him, and you only have so much time in game right now to do it. And they chose left field to kind of sprinkle him in a little bit.
Probably hasn't taken a ground ball.
The problem with the Herrera at first is that, and I love Wilson Contreras, but if you're talking about 2026, you probably don't look at Wilson Contreras' spot as being one that is vacated because he doesn't want to leave.
Right.
And so it's not to say the Cardinals won't want to get rid of him, but like you're just thinking stylistically, strategically about where to put guys and say, he's another guy with a contract. On paper, you might say that spot opens up for Burley/Herrera. It probably won't, which is, I want Contreras to be here, but I'm just pointing out that the team at one point or another might have been able to think about that spot had Wilson felt maybe not as strongly about how badly he wants to be here and be a Cardinal.
It's interesting that last offseason when Contreras said he wanted to stay, they said, okay, but you're going to have to play either the outfield or first base, and they gave him his choice, and he took first base. I think for the future, they probably would have been better off having him play left field because they have, to me, more – and they didn't know about Herrera at that point, But Burleson, you had to think about Walker as the possibility of being a first baseman if he could hit. But Contreras chose first, so it all became a moot point.
And I actually think I would go the other way on that. I don't know that Contreras defensively would pan out in left. Like, I'm not saying for sure that Herrera will, but I've been more than mildly impressed by Contreras
He's been really good there
defensively. And I think a part of it with him too, like when he came over, he mentioned it in passing. I remember hearing it in like a post-game scrum where he was talking about where he was batting in the lineup and kind of mentioned the Cubs batted him leadoff at times. And he's like, I hated that. Never want to do that again. It's like, okay. So he's a guy with maybe some particulars on, stylistically what makes him feel comfortable, successful. I would hate to think, okay, I'm butchering balls in left field. Now I'm not hitting as well. That might have been something that would have happened to him if he had to play left instead of first. First, he's taken to pretty nicely, and I think his offensive game has been pretty much what we thought it would be as well. So I'm okay with the way that that's played out, but to your point, Burleson, Herrera, if you're somebody that feels like Walker would have been an option there, you're kind of blocked, you're plugged up to not be able to explore any of that.
Isn't it interesting? What do we have up here, Matthew?
Maybe
Cardinals
a lineup.
lineup's out for today because it's the early game.
Go Cards.
So you can see now the plan that they're rolling with today. Lars in left, Avon batting second at DH, Alec Burleson at first base batting third, Nolan Arenado in the cleanup spot, obviously, playing third base, Nolan Gorman second base batting fifth, Thomas JC is at shortstop batting sixth, Jimmy Crooks behind the plate batting seventh, Jordan Walker in right field batting eighth, and then Victor Scott in center field batting ninth.
All right. I like this lineup as we head down the stretch, and these are all important games.
Why'd you have to laugh? It's not very nice to laugh.
Sorry, I saw something funny on my screen pop up.
It's important to some. Important to some. The team win total was like 76.5, I think. 75.5, 76.5. Some may have some. I did not. No, I did not partake. Okay. I did not partake. It's not a Mizzou situation, so I did not partake.
Speaking of Mizzou, Hanna Barton is going to join us. Noted South Carolina fan. She's going to join us in just a few minutes.
This is going to be hard. This is going to be a hard interview.
It is. I think she'll be all right.
She'll be okay.
It's
going to be very polite. It's just I feel bad because I did pick Vanderbilt last week. Vanderbilt stomped her Gamecocks, and now it's a little awkward because like in Mizzou land, everybody looks at it and says, "Oh my gosh, Mizzou's going to roll them," and I'm going to be like, "I don't know. That's a pretty big point spread. Just win the game, please." But we'll get into that in just a few.
And we will ask her whether or not their coach Shane Beamer was lying yesterday when he said, "We have this hard and fast rule that if you don't practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, you don't play."
Is that what he said?
Yeah. So if you're telling me that if Lenora Sellers doesn't practice
because
Tuesday or Wednesday, that he ain't going to play.
Because I saw that he said when asked about Sellers' status, he said we've got that Wednesday availability report, and basically didn't let up as to whether what's going on. But Luke Doty said, the reps have been about the same as normal in practice, which implies, okay, could Sellers be practicing and they're just not telling? Like think about it this way: he says if you don't practice on Tuesday, you don't play. Was the next question, did Sellers practice? And then he said, the availability report. Well, we'll tell you the availability. I think we'll get into it with Hannah, but I think he plays because Shane Beamer cannot stand Eli Drinkwitz. That's my read. That's my take. And I think they are doing a little obfuscation where they can
is a great
because
word.
I think there was a little bit of that, at least perceived from the South Carolina side, when it came to Brady Cook's status last year in Columbia. Maybe.
Now, Beamer at the beginning of his press conference yesterday talked about how much he respected Eli Drinkwitz and what a great job he did.
That is what you would say during a press conference about a guy you hate. Yeah.
It made me realize, Brenden, and I covered a lot of football coaches press conference over the years, how useless they really are.
The pressers.
Yeah.
They are useless, especially in college football.
Yeah, there's nothing said.
Because, but like, it's an art form to, what it is? It's almost as the coaches, you're just trying to avoid saying the wrong thing rather than because you can step on it in those and you can turn it into something that's a negative. But oftentimes, and there are rare moments where you can use it to fuel your team. But most of the time, I think it's avoiding the landmine. And Eli Drinkwitz is very good at that. And like when asked about Lenora Sellers this week, he said, we anticipate him to play. And so, that's something that, whether you think he's going to play or not, don't let the other side think that you are expecting an easy time. Like, no, we're going to prepare for the guy that was a Heisman candidate, and you go from there.
The Flash apparently official.
Courtesy of Columbia ABC 17. Here's Eli Drinkwitz when asked about Lenora Sellers at his presser yesterday.
As preseason all-SEC first-team quarterback for a reason. That would tell us all he's a cut above. He's got a unique build and frame. He's really strong, hard to tackle in the pocket, hard to wrap up, makes incredible decisions and plays when the play is broken down. So, I think that's always a challenge, especially when you're playing defense. If you're in man and he breaks the pocket, then he's going to take off and run. And if you're playing zone, it's hard to keep a zone cover when your focal point is moved. So how does that zone move with it? So it's an extremely difficult challenge. He is an elite player.
He is an elite player. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. You don't say anything. And so, like you mentioned it, Beamer saying very complimentary things. Maybe I'm overplaying it. I point back to a couple years ago, Beamer was on a podcast where he was talking about an SEC group chat or something. I wish I could place it and credit exactly what I recall, but it's always stuck in my mind where there was a comment made about maybe he was kind of talking about one coach he didn't like, and everybody surmised that it might be Drink.
Mm-hmm.
And Drinkwitz in the mini movie. I don't know if you watched the mini movies from Mizzou football. They posted on Twitter from the Louisiana game. After the game, Drinkwitz telling his players, you dominated for 4 quarters. You had the mentality we wanted to see from you. Next week, it's on like Donkey Kong, he told them.
Oh.
And then he said, they got something and I want it back, because they do play for a trophy, the Mayor's Cup, in this Mizzou, South Carolina rivalry,
Both
if you will.
Columbia's.
Yep.
Yeah, the Mayor's
Columbia
Cup.
SC and Columbia, Missouri.
Hey, and you know what? Pretty soon, you'll be able to bet on games like this when DraftKings gets going December 1st here in the state of Missouri. Get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live. And their sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when they officially go live in Missouri, you're going to be betting with the sportsbook app trusted by millions, safe, secure, and fast money withdrawals from DraftKings Sportsbook. Download their app now and use that code right there on your screen, STL Sports, to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Hannah's here.
I think that's a yes.
There
Hi
she
guys,
is.
how's it going?
What's going on?
We're fine. Our concern is you.
Yeah, we're worried about you.
Yeah, that everyone out there seems to be. It's almost like, did South Carolina have a bad game or something over the weekend?
Might have had a
I don't know.
toughie. Yeah. What was your takeaway from that? I mean, obviously you lose your quarterback mid-game. We're talking about this point spread. I'll have to get your take on that for this weekend. But starting with the Vanderbilt game, you lose Sellers and things kind of go off script. Are you overreacting to that? Was it as bad as it looked for South Carolina? And does it mean anything going forward that the margin was what it was against Vandy?
I don't think the Lenora Sellers out of the game was the deciding factor in South Carolina's poor performance this past weekend. I think it was part of it, because obviously anytime you lose such a huge offensive weapon and you're starting quarterback in the middle of a game, it's going to throw some things off. I think one of the biggest things that hurt South Carolina this past weekend was their defense. I think the defense looked really flat. I think they knew what they needed to do in terms of trying to stop Diego Pavia, and they didn't execute that. And I think South Carolina really hurt themselves this past weekend was the biggest thing. Offensively, defensively, I mean, the amount of turnovers on offense, you cannot have that happen, regardless of who is at quarterback. And I think that then towards the end, it was just constantly kicking themselves when they're down. I mean, penalties and interceptions and fumbles. And I mean, it went from bad to worse really quickly. And it was a tough watch, obviously. And anytime, you lose your quarterback, but specifically when you lose Lenora Sellers, it's going to rattle your fan base. But I think that, to me, the defense really, really underperformed. But all 3 phases of South Carolina's game just did not look good this past weekend.
And Hannah, I know this is really big picture, but last year as a 2-loss team. They were right on the edge of the playoffs. And even though Vanderbilt is 3-0, I think the respect level of Vanderbilt still isn't as high as it would be for a lot of 3-0 teams. So I kind of think that the Gamecocks are in a situation after that particular loss that any other losses are really going to damage their chances to get to the playoff, which is obviously the hope and dream of both the Gamecocks and Mizzou this year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't lose. You can't lose, especially some of these games where when Brenden and I did team previews and you're looking at the South Carolina schedule, Vanderbilt was one of those games where it's like, that's kind of going to be a must win. And then as you move forward, like you have games that are going to be very, very difficult when you go. I mean, this weekend, you go to Columbia, Missouri, when you go to LSU, and then even hosting Oklahoma and hosting Alabama. I know, Alabama obviously doesn't look like the Alabama that we may have all feared in the past, but Oklahoma's looking pretty dang good. And those are all games that, they went from, okay, there might be some wiggle room if they drop one or two, to, okay, you've got to win these tough games because you lost to a Vanderbilt team that is good and that is way better than anything we've seen in the past. But it kind of goes from, okay, this Mizzou game, it's big, you want to win it for the pride and the rivalry between the Columbias, to no, you have to win this Mizzou game. Like if you lose this Mizzou game, the chances of you executing the season that all these fans have dreamed of and have talked about in the off season is going to be almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, the preseason ranking suggested being right there on the cusp of a playoff. And obviously you and I coming in, we're very respectful toward one another about this game, but we both said it's the biggest kind of bellwether game for both teams early in the season. We both anticipated South Carolina being Vandy. Now that hasn't happened, coin flip. I mean, we both said coming in, it's going to be a great game, coin flip. We both thought our side would win. How are you viewing the game now? And are you influenced at all by what I have considered to be a crazy, crazy point spread? It was like 13.5. Now it's come down a little bit to 11.5, but you're calling it must win. The sports books would say Missouri should win this game going away. How do you view this game, and how much does Sellers and his availability play into your opinion as well?
I mean, I think whenever you and I would talk about this game in the preseason during the previews, we both were like, oh yeah, it'll be an important game. And you kept saying this is, most important game in the schedule, most important game on the schedule. And I was kind of like, yeah, it matters. But when you are coming off of a loss to Vanderbilt, like South Carolina has to win this game. And I think that obviously the question mark around Lenora Sellers is a huge factor, because he's without a doubt the most explosive, dynamic, talked about, talented player on this team. Do I think that they need Lenora Sellers to win? No. Do I think that it will be a huge help? Absolutely. However, when you look at the gauntlet of a schedule that South Carolina has in the coming weeks, you also want to make sure that your quarterback and your best player is healthy for those games as well. So kind of the question is it a give and take where, let's put Luke Doty in and let's see how he can do. I have full faith in Luke Doty. I think that those that maybe don't follow the South Carolina program super closely, who don't know Luke Doty, I mean, this guy was a top quarterback prospect coming out of high school, enrolled in South Carolina, was pretty much expected to be a starter by the time he rolled around to his sophomore year, and got hurt, didn't really have the quarterback career that a lot of Gamecock fans had envisioned for him, stuck with this program, has continued to be used in any way. I mean, this guy has played on special teams. This guy has played at wide receiver. This guy has played at backup quarterback. This guy has been put in at running back. I mean, Luke Doty has done anything that South Carolina has asked him to do in these past 6 years.
Can I call him Taysom Hill? Is that a fair comp?
He is.
He's their Taysom Hill.
He is South Carolina's Taysom Hill, 1,000%. Really ironic. I mean, I've got a Saints jersey in the background. Yes, he is the Taysom Hill of South Carolina. And this is his 6th year. He knows this program. And I think that the staff has full faith in him. They wouldn't, I mean, if they hadn't put him in this position when you've got quarterback like Aaron Nolan and Cutter Woods, learning from them. So I think that Luke Doty is perfectly capable of leading an offense that can win this weekend. I think the biggest factor is going to be the defense. I think that the South Carolina defense needs to show up and show out this weekend. They need to create turnovers. They have got to stop the run game. And our linebackers and our secondary have got to be more dynamic, more explosive. They've got to create more plays because you just really haven't seen that. And then I think from the offensive standpoint, obviously you've got to utilize Nick Harbor. Luke Doty is also really good on his feet, as is Lenoris. I think one thing that helps is that you're going to be able to keep the offense, somewhat similar if Lenoris can't play, but it has got to be clean football. You cannot have fumbles. You cannot have interceptions. You cannot have all the errors that you did this past weekend. I mean, you've got to play clean football on the offense, regardless of who's under center.
Who's the best team in the SEC right now? It seems like there's, and I think Texas A&M is really good, and that was an impressive win that they had against Notre Dame last weekend. But you've got Ole Miss sitting there at 2-0. Georgia's next game is against Alabama. Alabama, November 8th, plays LSU. Ole Miss is in the mix. Who's the best team in this conference right now?
I'm looking at this list. LSU continues to stay up there for me. Texas A&M really impressed me with that win over Notre Dame. I think that Georgia-Tennessee game was impressive as well. Georgia's
went
up
on the
there.
road, winning there.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that was a big. When we talked about that game last week, after how Georgia has looked and how Gunnar Stockton has looked, I said there's a good chance that Georgia could leave Rocky Top with a loss, and to be able to kind of grit it out in overtime, they're really up there. I think for me, LSU, Georgia, Texas. See, it's hard though because Texas hasn't done. I think they've performed well-ish, but like you would expect them to be far and away from UT El Paso. I mean, you don't expect them to win. I mean, they still won 27-10, but you would expect that game to look more like the Mississippi State Alcorn State game. I mean, So I think for me, as I'm looking at this, LSU and Georgia are kind of those teams right now that I think have really solidified their spots at the top.
And by the way, let's not sleep on Oklahoma because everybody's talking about Mateer, and they've only allowed 19 points.
I mean, Oklahoma is another one of those where I think preseason I was like, you know what? They'll come into South Carolina. We'll get the win. They have got to make sure they're firing on all cylinders for Oklahoma. I've been impressed with Mateer. I've been impressed with that Oklahoma team. They're definitely trying to really make a name for themselves this season in the SEC and are doing a good job of it.
Yeah, Oklahoma is tough, but at this point, they've only beaten Michigan, and depending on what we think of Michigan. And Hannah, by the way, the reason I look like a jackass with the sunglasses, anytime we're talking Mizzou, I do wear the shades because our future is bright. But I just wanted to make sure I clarified that.
I was wondering what was going on there.
Yeah, that's the reason, and I felt like I should at least mention that before we finish the interview. I wanted to ask, though, this weekend, it feels like that Auburn-Oklahoma game is another one of those bellwether games in the conference. We're finally starting to get some of these head-to-heads that'll tell us more about these teams.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this Auburn-Oklahoma game. I think because it is in Norman that Oklahoma is going to have a win in that game. But Auburn is another team that has looked better than I thought that they would this season. Obviously, the homecoming for Jackson Arnold is going to be interesting, and who knows, he might play with a little bit more pep in his step, returning home to Norman, trying to prove a couple things. So that one is definitely on the list. The Mizzou South Carolina one is huge as well. Florida Miami should be interesting. Obviously, Florida does not look great. However, anytime that those two teams play, it's going to be entertaining. So I'm looking forward to that one as well.
I'm wondering if Florida does part ways with Billy Napier, and it appears that that's where the fan base wants them to go. I don't know who the heck they replace him with. Do you bring like Urban Meyer back? What do you do if you're Florida?
Personally, I think that would not be an ideal choice. I think Urban Meyer
I don't think so either.
Kind of stay out where he is. But I mean, that's a good question. You do wonder, are they going to try and pull someone else from the SEC? Are they maybe going to say, well, Drink's done some good things at Missouri.
No, don't say it.
Would it really, be a bad idea to bring him over?
No, it'd be a great idea.
Let's see what Lane's got going on. I mean, I could see them really trying to find someone in the SEC to bring over to Florida. Who knows? Maybe Steve Spurrier will come out of retirement. I mean, at this point, I think they'll take anything that they can get.
Maybe Maybe old Kurt Signetti is going to be vying for an upgrade to a real conference. I don't know.
I mean, and I'm sure he'd have a lot to say about that, and he would love to tell us his resume of why he should have that job.
He would love to. And then he could say, not only do I schedule like the SEC, which you don't, you schedule cupcakes, and SEC teams actually play a power conference school every once in a while. Yeah, that would be interesting to see for sure. No, on the Drinkwitz thing, I actually think, and look, if I'm telling everybody Mizzou's going to make the playoff, it'll be Drink's, if it happens, third season in a row with 10 plus wins. I think he will go from people going, yeah, that Drink's got something going on, to now those big schools would indeed come a calling. I don't think Drink leaves for Florida. I think Drink's got a really good situation at Mizzou where they give him everything he needs and wants, and he is building it himself. The one that would be interesting, if things go south for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, how quick is the hook there? I'm not delusional enough to think that Mizzou would try and maybe they would succeed, but I can't pretend that if Alabama comes calling that there's not a coach that in the country that would not at least be entertained by that possibility.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think if Mizzou puts together this season that you are ready for with your shades, that people will come knocking on Drink's door, and rightfully so. I think he's earned that, and he's shown that he can really, produce some high caliber teams. But yeah, it should be interesting. I know you're hoping that they don't have too many people coming in knocking on his door, but
they'll knock. And then that press release on his record contract from Missouri is going to be, it's going to hit.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. We'll have to see on that one. But yeah, as long as Beamer can stay in Columbia and maybe turn some things around after last weekend, I think we'll be happy with him there though. So
I think there's a couple of things with Drinkwitz and Mizzou. Number one, having the Kansas City and St. Louis market, that means a lot to him. He's got a sugar daddy. He's got an in with the Missouri legislature. That's how Missouri was the first state in the union to have high school players get the availability to have NIL money.
Yes, that's true.
If they signed with a Missouri school. But I think the other part of it is, and Eli knows this, 10-2 gets you fired at Alabama. 10-2 gets you a statue at Missouri. And he's aware of that.
He can bring the program, like Pinkel put it to where it was, and then it hasn't advanced. He can be the guy that, like, basically, I know there's been some years in between, can take the baton from Pinkel and move it because of the money, the backing that they now have with the resources, and recruiting is different. Facilities are upgraded, is what allows for Columbia, Missouri to be that type of environment. But he's got to be the one to build it, or else the perception of Missouri will remain. A lot of people nationally think, oh, Missouri, of course, would be a stepping stone job to a Florida. But if you go to Florida, you're asking, well, why'd the last guy get fired? He had the toughest schedule in the country and didn't win enough of those games. It's not automatic to me that you could look at Florida and say for sure that anybody would be crazy not to step up. There is a different level of pressure there. And maybe over the course of time, Missouri builds their expectations. But I agree with that, Randy, when you just think about, like, in Hannah, from your perspective, like a South Carolina job, it's a good job, but like, you've got your coach. We're not really grading how good the job is. It's about, can our guy elevate the program more than anything?
Absolutely. And I think you're right with the Florida. Like, I think it's one of those where, like, it would probably be considered just because of what's available. But if I'm any coach and I'm seeing what's happening down in Tuscaloosa with DeBoer, and Alabama comes knocking, I don't know if that's something I would want to take on. I think it would take a very special kind of personality to be able to take on that job.
You got to want the smoke. And like Drink has personality to burn. So he could be that guy that wants that smoke. I just don't think Florida is automatically big enough. Alabama is one where it's like, okay. But even right now, Randy, like Drinkwitz on his most recent contract adjustment got more money for his assistants. Right. He didn't get a raise for himself. He just tacked on another year. They could write him a blank check. It's not really as though, in my opinion, and people might not understand this nationally, I don't think that Alabama can come with a number that Missouri can't match. I really do believe that.
No doubt about that. And when you look at the highest paid guys right now, Eli is making 9.5. He's in the top 10. He's one of the 10 highest paid coaches in America. So, and the money people at Mizzou, they like him a lot. And I think they would be, if somebody came and said, okay, we'll give you X amount of dollars, I think Mizzou would be happy to match.
Mizzou will match it. And almost from a perspective, Drinkwitz looks at it, and I haven't asked him, but it's like, I think there's an aspect of this where what I make is is lovely for my family. I'm where I want to be. I am going to build this into a national championship contender. That can be a legacy for somebody. Doing it at Alabama can be a legacy for somebody, or you can build it somewhere and do something that's never been done before. I think he's the personality that sees the value in that.
And he, by the way, Hannah, he's 11th right now. Eli is right behind Brian Kelly, who's at 9.9, Belichick at 10, Lincoln Riley at 10.2, Kalen DeBoer at 10.25. But then after Drinkwitz in salary, you've got Lane Kiffin at 9, you've got Heupel at 9, you've got Mark Stoops at 9, James Franklin at 8.5, Venables at 8.5, Cristobal at 8. So he's doing better than a lot of guys. And by the way, Kirby's at 13 million. Kirby's doing all right.
You pay Drink 13. I don't think he wants it, Hannah. That's kind of my view. I mean, he probably would take it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think if I'm Drink, I'm staying at Mizzou and I'm building what I can and taking what they're going to be willing to give him there for sure.
If you're Dan Lanning and you just want to raise, do you go to Phil Knight and say, hey, I'd like to get 15 million, and then they just say done, right? There's no school in America that can pay a coach like Oregon can, is there?
And the Nike money, is that sort of the backing with that?
It is, and based off of what we've seen from his personality and press conferences and how he's coached, I don't think he'd have a problem walking in there and asking for it because he's gonna get it. So,
but don't you think for a Drinkwitz, when he's already making 9.4 or whatever it is, he says, I want to keep my assistants. If you're gonna devote more money to our program, do it there. Do it to pay the players. I'm going to be very satisfied. Cost of living in mid-Missouri, not so bad, right? He's making $9 million. He's got what he needs, and whatever he asks for, I believe they will give him. All this being said, I am still operating under the assumption that you're talking about a playoff team this year. It's been a conversation. I've seen it posed in other outlets where it's like, is it more likely for Drink to take another job because he gets called by an Alabama, or that he's fired? And I would say it's more likely that he'll take another job, but I don't think either is really ever going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Hannah. We need to know how long it took you to bounce back after Saturday. Like, did it ruin your weekend? What happened?
I didn't have a choice, guys. Let's see. I left that game at about midnight. I left the stadium, got home by 12:31, got about 2.5 hours of sleep. Woke up, drove to Charlotte, North Carolina, hopped on a plane, flew to New Orleans, Louisiana, went to the Saints game that kicked off at noon. And so no time to recover there, honestly.
No, that's a bad weekend.
It depends on how you look at it.
You had fun.
It was a good game. I mean,
it's nice to not have expectations, I guess.
Yeah, it was a reminder of the reality of football kind of weekend. I think that's a good way to put it.
Got it. And tell us what's going on at SEC sports fans, the Southeast sports fans.
Still just, getting stuff off the ground, really continuing to follow these teams. Obviously, Brenden is ready to keep Mizzou in his sights with his shades on.
He thinks you're going 12-0.
I guess
he does. And you know what? If it helps him sleep at night.
And she said it's a must win this weekend. So somewhere there's going to be some conflict.
It is a must win. It is a must win. I think especially for my Gamecocks, it is a must win. I mean, you don't lose like that at home against Vanderbilt. And I mean, I don't care who you're playing. That they could be playing Mizzou, they could be playing LSU, they could be playing Alabama, they could be playing Northeast Missouri State University Central.
Oh, shout out.
And they need if that's a school. I don't know. They could be playing anybody. They would need to win after last weekend.
Yeah,
that's
Northwest,
fair.
You got your hands full.
Northwest, that's different. They win natties at the lower division. Yeah. I will say, Pavia did tell us this was coming. He did let us know they're winning the natty, and so why can we be surprised?
Mm-hmm. Yep. He says a lot of things, doesn't he?
Great job, Hannah. Thank you so much. Are you making your way to Columbia, by the way, Missouri?
No, I am not. Okay. I'll be back in Columbia, South Carolina tomorrow, and then I think I'll be all traveled out for a few days. So
okay, good. Well, take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
All right, bye, guys.
Hannah Barton from Southeast Sports Fans. Check it out on the old YouTube. Hannah and Brenden, you guys got just content galore at Southeast Sports Fans.
A lot going on. Going on. Instagram is popping off as well. Give that a shout on Instagram. Following the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I think that's a great idea. And we got a lot of great things going here at STL Sports Central and with that. So that's pretty cool. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the tush push. Piece yesterday in The Athletic talking about how it's a violent play and a group of teams are adamantly against it. A group of teams have never used it. Coaches have never used it. But the one team that continues to use it is Philadelphia. Matthew?
I think we also need to preface this. Brenden Schaefer, do you have a problem with it being called a violent play? Because your take on the play, very different than calling it a violent play.
No, I don't think I worry about the injury risk of it. I'm not really worried about that.
You worry about the entertainment.
It's boring as all hell. Get rid of it. Not because I'm a Chiefs fan who thinks, well, they false started. It's mean. Well, you were offsides too. Here's why I don't want the play to exist anymore. It's boring. I know the outcome. And look, was I a big fan of it? I don't like rule changes in baseball, but you know what? The intentional walk thing, it doesn't bother me anymore because they just give them the base and I'm over it. In football, if the Philadelphia Eagles have a yard to gain, just give it to them. I would move the ball 1 yard and call it 1st and 10. I think they should treat it like the intentional walk in baseball. If they're not going to ban the tush push, I don't want to watch it anymore because it's 40 seconds of pretending like you're going to snap the ball, and then you snap the ball because you didn't draw them offside, or maybe you did and they have to untangle the bodies and do it again. Both sides are offside. I don't know. And then they run the play, and then it's a first down because it always picks up a yard. Mm-hmm. And then you have to untangle the bodies for 30 more seconds. It's 90 seconds of my life I'll never get back. And it's terrible entertainment value. I'm over it. I don't want to see it.
I really think that's a great idea. I wonder, though, if the competition committee or the NFL owners will get together and vote on something or vote it out because it's boring. I mean, they would have had to vote out Jeff Fisher, and he was on the committee.
They should have voted him out. They should have voted him out. Enough. Fans can't take it anymore. But, of course, they were in cahoots on the whole thing. He had to make it boring in St. Louis. He was a perfect head coach. He was the perfect head coach for what Stan Kroenke needed at the time.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, you couldn't have scripted it better.
So for me, what I got out of the tush push, I thought it was interesting. I think it was Jason Kelsey that said in an article that the Eagles, because of the injury concern, they don't practice the play.
Really?
The only time they use it is in games. They don't practice it because they're concerned about guys getting hurt. So it is a violent play, and it is a boring play. But, man, I don't know if the NFL can outlaw something because it's boring.
It's largely – no, they won't do that.
Rule, though.
They could change the rule. No, they won't do it for my benefit, but if they do end up changing it, that's one thing that I'll enjoy about it. Look, just do a QB sneak like normal people. Could we just you don't outlaw that? It'll probably be almost as good. It's just like when everybody's braced up for it, it's like, here it comes. And if there was any drama to it, that'd be different. But there's not when the Eagles run it. The Bills kind of run it too to some success. But
they run the second most.
But it's Philadelphia that you just know the outcome, and it gets so tedious and boring. And if you're the defense, of course, you have to do everything you can to try to stop it. But it just leads to, and like refs can't figure out who's offside. Right. It's gotten to a point where I think it's jumped the shark a little bit for me as a football fan. That's not a reason to change it, but I'm a fan. I just want them to change it because of that.
I have difficulty with it because I'm with you. I think it's boring. We don't have any evidence, any data to suggest that it is a play that causes injury. But my big thing with it is, how can you outlaw something that is just a product of good coaching? I think that's unfair. Now, Bill Belichick's defensive backs were holding. That was against the rules at the time. It was obvious. So all they had to do was enforce a rule that was already on the books. But and the NFL changes rules all the time.
Right.
But I think it's kind of unfair to focus in, and I get your point, by the way, that it's boring. But if you're going to suggest that a rule should be changed simply because one team does it too well, I don't think that's a very good way to run.
No, in fact, I'm saying change it to give the Eagles specifically the first down. Like,
Yeah,
I'll
that's not a
accept.
bad idea.
I'll accept it. They're just good enough at it that until maybe Jalen Hurts is gone or they have a new offense. Maybe every time they change centers, you make them do it a couple times, and if they always get it, okay, you don't have to run it the rest of the year. We're going to treat it like an intentional walk. I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles because you're right. They're the team that has perfected it. If it was easy enough, everybody would do it. Clearly, they have found a way to have an advantage. But is it getting to a point where the referees cannot legislate it fairly? You mentioned it, a rule that's already on the books. Well, false starts are on the books. Offsides, for offensive offsides, would be on the books. But can they even legislate it effectively, or is it just going to turn into a spectacle? It's a clown show every time they say, nope, this time the offense was offside. Oh, this time the defense was, yep, you jumped early. We got the guys jumping over the line in the playoff game where they were going to have to give them a touchdown. Like, it's just been, I think it's jumped the shark. That's my take.
You've literally got a line judge.
That's all his
job.
That's all he's doing.
Got one job.
He's like, I don't know. It's Brenden Schaefer's going to complain in St. Louis. It's going to take too long to throw the flag. Like, I get it, but there is that fairness aspect of it. And so if the Eagles are so good at it because they're gaining the benefit of the doubt when the guards are, a yard offside into the neutral zone every time the ball is snapped, then that there might be something to think about there.
You know what I'm thinking about? By the way, that looks like the Unabomber. Is that the Unabomber?
Wait.
Okay.
No,
don't ruin my joke. Don't ruin.
It's already been ruined. It's already been ruined because I didn't see it, but I can picture it.
Chris Sabo looked like. There you go.
That's not nice. Oh, Joe did that.
The listeners can't see it yet.
Okay,
we'll get it on.
Damn it, Joe Roderick.
Okay, so here's one thing that
this is pretty funny.
So I want the Eagles to line up like on 4th and 1 from their own 49-yard line.
Yeah.
Tush push formation. And then Hurts to take the snap, drop back, 3-step drop, and then Goddard is all alone down the middle of the field for a 51-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And I wonder at what point the Eagles say, you know what, that'd be a fun idea.
It'd be fun to try once on like 3rd and 1, in case it doesn't work out, you can go for the next one.
Right.
This is some of Joe Roderick's best work. That's bad.
He got you with such a solemn look too. It's the perfect screenshot.
That is some of his best work ever, and I hope that nobody sees it. I hope that his Twitter presence is not enough to get that to be passed around.
Honestly,
because that's pretty funny.
You know what's low key really makes this? It's the curly hair.
Yep,
like
the hair.
He's got the curly hair.
I don't have a hood on. If I had a hoodie up, that would be.
You have the curly hair just like he does. You have something covering
the
your
nose is kind of similar. The mouth features. That's pretty bad. That is wow. So. That's my second time associated with something today that I didn't mean to be. The first only is known to listeners of the KLIS Lou Info Station. But, well, we're not bringing that up.
No. Blues start training camp. Actually, today is the day that everybody has to have their VO2 tests and get their physicals done, and then they'll be on the ice tomorrow. And then they're going to start preseason games like the day after that, which is pretty cool. For me, when I get out to practice, I want to see if Dylan Holloway is healthy. Then I just want to see the new guys. I'm interested in seeing what Mayu looks like on the ice. I want to see Pius Suter. Bugstad, I know what I'm going to get from him. So I want to see those guys. And then I'm interested to see what Jim Montgomery is working on. I sure hope Jim Montgomery is working on that 6-on-5 against.
Oh, I would like to think that they would.
First thing, maybe.
It would help. It would help my heart palpitations a little bit. Yeah. I am ready, though. It was a long off season, but I am finally ready to talk about the Blues. Today is the first day that I'll do it.
Are you over Game 7?
No, but I'm part of the, what's that called? The stages of grief.
Yeah.
I'm still working through it, but I'm closing in on. I guess acceptance is the one that it would be closest, but I'm getting there, and I'll talk about the team. I just didn't want to think about the team for a long time after that game. It was tough.
Yeah. Did you, Matthew? What?
No, I was with B-Schaef. High Definition was very mad that we didn't talk Blues again today, and I was trying to explain. I'm like, there hasn't really been Blues news, my guy. Like when there was Blues news in the offseason, we did talk about it.
We're gonna get there.
We talked about Lucic when he signed. Doug Armstrong did a media availability for 30 minutes, so we'll have some Doug Armstrong quotes to talk about tomorrow morning.
Can anybody help me out? I still am unclear on what the deal is, the hierarchy here. So Doug Armstrong is still in charge. He's the POHO,
for this year,
but then he's going to be the POHO. Is the POHO different than Mo being the POBO? Is that not the same thing? Is it really going to be Steen that's in charge? because he's going to be the president. He's like the president of hockey.
Steiner will be he'll make all the personnel moves.
Steen will not be like a Mike Gersh. He'll be like the executive that is in charge. Because when the Cardinals explained it, they're like, this is just a nice title for Mo, who will still do all the same stuff, but he's like got a lackey now. Like, that's good. I didn't know if it was the same. The hockey fans talk about it in a much different way, so it is different. Steen will be in charge, and Army's almost like an emeritus sort of thing after that takes over. Okay.
And there's a couple of interesting points here. Number one, if Mo would stay in the organization, he doesn't want to be on the baseball side at all. He wants to, if he's in the organization, may or may not be.
Do you think there's a chance of that?
Of him being in the organization?
Yeah.
I would guess probably not.
Okay. And I
think it's his choice, though.
I think that's very interesting. I don't know how I want to broach this. I think you're right, generally speaking, that's probably not something that's going to happen. But like the business side of it and different sides of it probably are of interest to him. Mm-hmm. But does the problem then become he's aware of the perception of his involvement, and it's not even his fault. It's not even his fault. But
it's my understanding that is why he wouldn't want to be involved with the baseball side at all.
Yeah.
But he still wants to work.
But even if you were on the business side, could you imagine that announcement? That the Cardinals are like, Mo's new role is XYZ, and it's still, I'm not saying that would be wrong. In fact, I think it would be, I think the organization could benefit from that. I just don't think.
They don't do an announcement. That's something that all of a sudden, mid-May, Dirk Gould goes, oh, so guess who I ran into at the, like his article was like, so I ran into somebody at the park today.
Well, see, and what you could do, and
it's not fair to Mo. None of this is fair to Mo.
Yeah. So one of the things that you could do is have him just work out of Jupiter and handle everything that's going on down there. You're allowed
see that process through.
Finish it off.
Eventually, though, there is an article will hit that says, "Oh, hey, by the way, guys, for the last 4 months, it doesn't happen until July or something, but it's like, oh, for the last 3 months, Mo's been down in Jupiter helping out with something."
But like that would have no bearing on, but
not at all. But it would happen.
You'll have a Twitter egg that goes, the Cardinals are dysfunctional because they still have Mozeliak around. And that's just like, it's not fair to Mo, because that would be the perception, and it would be wrong. It would be blatantly wrong. And the org could benefit from Mo's guiding hand in some of those things. But can you even do it when what's the
Mo's guiding hand's a great text name, by the way.
What's the Bluesier version of a Cardinals fan? Is it the B-Fib? Would I just say that in sort of a derogatory way? When there's a B-Fib out there that has to, let their thoughts be heard, they're not wrong. Mo has outstayed his welcome as the lead baseball executive, but the relationship with the DeWitts is wonderful. Like, why wouldn't they, if both sides would want it? I'll be very curious, because it's been kind of not a topic that Mo has. He said, "No, I'm going to get to the end of this and then we'll see." Like, he hasn't really said, "Here's my next steps." It didn't feel it would be appropriate to think even. He said, "I honestly haven't thought about it." And so that will be interesting to see if there is anything there. It's just the reaction, if there was a role for Mo with the Cardinals, would not be fair for Mo, the way that Cardinals fans would handle that, because it would be absolutely disproportionate to like the genuine value that he could provide in another role if he wanted it.
And especially if he's on the baseball side, then everybody in the organization has to wonder who the boss is. Is it Chaim Bloom? Or is it
even if it was on the business side, people would still have a reaction because they're misinformed on stuff. Like, it's hard to, when you see Mo around, like Cardinals fans, let's say the ones that don't watch our show every day, right? They're maybe not as aware of the day-to-day minutia. They're not crazy about sports. So they might just go, "Oh, well, I heard Mozeliak was still coming back, and I thought it was going to be this Chaim Bloom." There would be that sort of in the air, and that wouldn't be beneficial or fair to Mo. It wouldn't be fair.
And I don't know if Mo would want to go back to work quickly. But
why should he?
He's
take a beat.
He's got it going pretty good right
now.
That's
what I would do.
Right. But Colorado is awful, and apparently they're going to make a change. And I think Mo does want to rebuild an organization.
You think he wants it on the baseball side? He wants a crack at it.
I think
is that not the worst ownership group in sports to be able to do it?
That's what I would say. I would say make sure that you get to a good ownership group. That's the key. But
maybe not.
The White Sox are going to have a new ownership group.
Ooh,
right. The Nationals are looking for a new head of baseball operations.
Where would you go?
The Twins have a new guy. I wouldn't want to work for the Pohlads. I think and maybe the Angels. are going to be, although they have
Albert as the manager, Mo as
there
the.
You go. Yeah, but the Angels, I think that they're probably they've got a GM, Imperium Gymnasium, but they don't have a Pobo. I think, depending on whether or not you can get them to commit the resources, I think the Nationals are an interesting franchise to go to with all of the young talent that they have. If you want to go to a place and rebuild, I would look at either the Nationals or Ishbia, whose brother is the owner of the Phoenix Suns and has all kinds of money.
Lots of cash.
And the White Sox, they're in the number 3 market. I'd say Nationals or White Sox, if I were in those shoes, would be the most intriguing ones for me.
I have a different take. I would still choose the Rockies. Because Denver is a lovely place. You see how they sell out every game, losing 110 games? Yep. I think, you want to do well. But almost, if I were me, and maybe this doesn't say a lot about my work ethic, but it's like, I could go live in Denver and they're going to pay me whether I win or lose. And I can try to rebuild it, and I can be in baseball circles, and I'm living in Denver again.
Also,
like,
this says a lot about,
done.
Like, also about the work ethic thing. Like, there is kind of a nice thing to be like, well, like when people like come at you for not having a lot of success, look at the ownership group. They're not giving you the money. Like you can kind of pass the buck pretty easily.
Well, there would be, I would say, is there a better market in the country to lose 120 games annually than Denver, Colorado? There's not. That's a beautiful place to be. I can't think of a better place to lose 120 games every summer.
You get there and you go, well, guys, I mean, we're not going to sign a lot of big game free agents. I need 6 years to
I need time. I need time.
I need 6 years to rebuild the minors.
It's perfect.
And start getting these 24-year-olds up to produce.
I'm not suggesting it's great for the ego if and when it doesn't work, because again, there are limitations there from ownership.
There's the thing. I think with
he got something to prove, a little STP.
Yeah, because of what the Cardinals were in 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I think he does want to go somewhere and prove that wasn't a fluke.
I think we have some fun with this one. We had Samuel House said, what about Mo opening a restaurant BPV? The new mama says, what would be the name of Mo's restaurant? Low-hanging fruit, I think, is...
That's a little low-hanging fruit to suggest that as the answer. You got to dig a little deeper.
It's okay, fair enough.
You got to try a little harder than that.
All right, fine. Arbitrage? Stepping in the bucket?
Delta?
Why Delta's a great name for a restaurant.
Oh, there you go, yep.
Why Delta's a good name for a restaurant. Yep. We've got 6 starters.
I don't think that's really thematic for a restaurant. I don't know if that's going to fit.
That's more of I think that's more of a that's a dessert at Mo's restaurant, and it's like one of those things where it looks like an explosion happened on the plate.
Well, you guys aren't being very nice. That's what I think. Have some respect.
You've got a good one in your head. You don't want to say it.
If Mo had gone out after 22, like after the last hurrah with Albert and everybody, would people view him so much more favorably because they had that the little tail off. With Matheny, and then Mike Schilt comes in and like it was kind of built back up. I wonder, change managers. Everybody's like, you fired a winning manager. If that was the cutoff for Mo, and he said, I'm going to go out. There's symmetry here with Albert and Yachty. I'm going to go out here. I think people would give him so much more credit, which like he deserves credit for the previous stuff that happened. He does.
We also probably don't get the quotes from him where he takes the blame for the minor leagues regressing the way they had. I wonder if he's out then, how much longer it takes everyone to put together that he's directly responsible for that falling apart.
I don't think he is.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that was a group decision, and the people that have the money decided we're gonna spend less on these things.
Didn't he choose where to allocate the money?
Yeah. When you're given that rock in the hard place and you know that maybe you've only got so many more years at it, would you potentially say, let's invest in, building this major league roster to try and produce a winner, because that can bring that influx of revenue that can then maybe allow us to backfill to some of the things that we've let go since COVID. I think it probably went that way where they thought they could piecemeal it together and just you needed 1 year of that reinvigoration for the fans.
That's completely fair, but just talking from the perception factor, if he gets out when you're saying he's out, does that blame get added on to him, or is it a lack of
maybe it does? Maybe 2 years down the road, like we're here now, people talk about it, but he's long gone. What does he care? You know what I mean? Like that's
right.
You could have, first of all, he wouldn't be asked by media to comment on it because that's not my job anymore, and so it doesn't become that sort of pervasive topic. It kind of goes away, whether it's true or not. I don't think it would be as much of a thing as when he's still in the role, his successor, and he's still in the role. I think that's part of really what has turned people against him. Like I say, fair or otherwise. And there's a lot of nuance to that conversation. And
we don't deal in nuance.
No. Speaking
of bad decision making, I wanted Brenden to bring up one more topic today.
Oh, let's do it.
The Brewers and their ability to be clear and honest with their fandom and their players.
You familiar with this, Randy? This is one of the craziest things I think I have ever seen. And when I found it, I was a little bit late to the party because I think it was clarified by Monday afternoon. I didn't see it till yesterday afternoon. But it's the Bob Uker letter. Are you familiar with this topic?
I am not. No.
Okay, so I'm going to brief you on it.
Okay.
Cardinals are playing the Brewers on Saturday night in Milwaukee. They should have won this game last Saturday.
The post-game show.
Should have won the game, didn't win the game, and the folks at STL Sports Central let you and Luke know about it. From what I was told, it was an active post-game. What happened as you guys were on live with STL Sports Central was a clinching celebration for the Brewers who clinched with that win. There's a post-game in the clubhouse with Pat Murphy, the manager, where he tells the team, he's got an envelope and says, I've been given this letter from Bob Uker. Bob Uker wrote this letter that I'd like to read to everybody. He reads it. It's kind of cutesy Bob Uker-isms and everything like that. Little strange because it's got some details about the season that he couldn't have known, obviously, before his passing. And so a little bit confusing. Maybe the players are kind of confused. Maybe you just kind of shrug it off. Maybe Bob Uker put in and said, hey, you can kind of editorialize a little bit based on what happens. But I wanted to leave this. Okay, a little bit odd, but really, poignant, whatever. Brewers social media team puts it on there, puts it on Twitter and says Pat Murphy reads emotional letter from Bob Uker. This is a must watch. That's what the caption said on Twitter. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then the next day or 2 days later, I think it came out Monday. The gentleman's name, I believe it was Curtis something. I'll find it. But a Brewers reporter that covers Kurt Hogg, that covers the Brewers, beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, retweets this a must-watch. Pat Murphy read an emotional letter from Bob Uker as the Brewers celebrated clinching. He says the Brewers clarified that this wasn't an actual letter from Uke. Pat Murphy wrote it as a way to include Bob Uker in the clinch celebration, the team said. And then Kurt editorializing says this is not from the Brewers, but my understanding is that the road record comments and some of the details were included to kind of make it evident that it was sort of the spirit of this letter was I wanted to include and give a nod to Uker. Pat Murphy thought that would be nice. The problem is when the Brewers social media puts it out and says it's a must watch, Pat Murphy read an emotional letter from Bob Uker. I don't know what else I am to take from that other than Bob Uker wrote the team a letter and now it's being posthumously read to the team as though he prepared for the possibility that they'd have a great season, or if and when they ever did, that next Brewers team that really has a great year put this in and have the manager read it. Oh my goodness. If this isn't like an all-time Larry David bit, this is Curb Your Enthusiasm 100%. And it is awkward. This is one of the craziest things I have ever, the saga as it begins on Saturday to finding out earlier this week that, by the way, this was not actually, and Pat Murphy probably thought it was clear. Like I said, the road record, like he couldn't have known that. It was kind of like like a fun little,
you can't have fun with stuff like
that. I think he was well intended, but the way that it landed, and again, if you're the 25-year-old social media person working for the Brewers, you go, well, holy crap, this is really cool. My job is to put that stuff out there. It's our clinching celebration. It's a must watch. Look at what Bob Uker wrote, but didn't, nobody told that person probably that it was. And I don't even know if if you watch the video, the players, are they aware that this was kind of like a more of a symbolic thing, or were they thinking, holy bleep, Bob Uker wrote us a letter before he died? That is that's uncomfortable. And like I said, well-intentioned by Pat Murphy, but one of the craziest things I think I've ever seen. And now it's the question of will that jinx the Brewers in any way? Are you messing with fate with having something like that go awry?
And you know what? The first thing I thought of was that's something that even if you didn't have it, if you were going to make it up like they did, you don't use it until they win a pennant or a World Series, because they've done enough winning And Uker stayed around and wanted to see them get back to the World Series for the first time since 1982. So I don't even think that and maybe
the timing was wrong as well, even if you were going to do it, you think.
So, and then there comes a point where 2 or 3 years down the road, most of your players don't have any idea that Bob Uker was the play-by-play guy of the Brewers anyway. And it doesn't work. So from that standpoint, the timing was okay, but number one, you don't do it. But number two, if you're going to do it, wait until you win something more than what you've won in the past that would have really made Bob Uker proud.
I understand how all of this came to be, right? Pat Murphy thinks I can do a cool little gesture. We loved Bob Uker and we wish he was here with us. And then, but like, you don't make it totally clear, like you thought you did, but it's like, I don't know. There was most of that. You said it was from Bob Uker. The social media guy thought it was from Bob Uker. What the hell is going on here?
In fairness, this does sound like a prank that Bob Uker would have pulled off as a Cardinal of like, guys, I have a letter here from Augie Bush.
But it's not. It's not
like, didn't he die like 4 years ago?
It's not a prank. It wasn't meant to be a prank. It was supposed to be emotional. To go, remember Bob Uker? We really miss him, and that's a lovely sentiment. It did not. It did not land. I can't be convinced it landed for the players. If I'm in that clubhouse, I might be going, how did he know that we were going to have the best road record? Pat Murphy said that's what the letter said, and he said that Bob Uker wrote it. I think it was well-intentioned. It couldn't have gone more awry when you add in the social media and add in the fact that the team itself may not have even really known in the moment. Like looking around that club, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's a weird one, man. It's crazy that it happened this way.
You're so right that when they inevitably lose, because they probably aren't going to win the World Series, people will blame that.
Yes, they will.
They'll say that Murphy jinxed us because of that letter.
He was trying to do a nice thing, but I think it backfired. It's still up. Yeah. The tweet from the Brewers. What I would have done.
Oh man,
and look,
sucker down.
I'm the guy with a tweet that said to fire the best coach Mizzou's ever had. I still have that tweet up because I thought I needed to be accountable to it. The Brewers.
Why would you say fire Gary Pinkel?
Well, that's fair. That's actually it's a good point. I don't actually even have a retort to that. By the time it's said and done, Drinkwitz will have taken Mizzou to heights but those heights couldn't have happened without Pinkel. Brad's, Chase Daniel couldn't have happened without Brad Smith. Like it's a progression of time. But my point is, I left the tweet up because I felt like, especially once he called it out, it's like I have to own that I said something stupid, and I'm not going to hide from it. Brewers, hide from it. Delete that tweet because it's like. Still yesterday, I tweeted about it. It was a day later, and people go, wait a minute, that wasn't from Bob Uker? What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, this reporter said that the Brewers have clarified. Just scrub it. Nobody, I mean, stop the bleeding. That's a tough one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one of the things that you can't screenshot a video. I'm sure somebody's kept it, but still, not enough people have kept it.
Just wipe it off the face of the earth. Like it doesn't need to, it didn't work out. It didn't pan out.
Yeah. So, it's always got to be eerie to get a letter from a dead guy.
It would be strange.
It does happen.
It's like, how did he know all this stuff? That's crazy.
He was prescient, as it were.
I love Gary Pinkel, by the way. I didn't mean to.
Pink is one of my.
Pinkel is.
He's great. He really. He changed. There were two things. Number one, he walked out of a booster club meeting. And the boosters got pissed at him, and I think that changed him. I think the thing that changed him the most was Aaron O'Neill passing away. He was deeply affected by that.
Yeah,
and I think he became just more human. And I always said from the first time I met him that if my kid would have been a good enough college football player to be a Division I player, I would have wanted him to play for Gary Pinkel. I think that much highly.
And you've talked about this. It's that Saban school and that Saban style of coaching that, I mean, you can't really knock it, you can't question it. The success that he had, and to do it at Missouri at that time was putting them on the map in a way that we hadn't seen.
Yeah, and he's revered by his players, which is cool.
Yeah.
Are we going to do one more thing here before we're
just going to?
Oh, were you going to do the Michael Vick thing?
I just saw the Kyler Murray thing.
Yeah.
What happened?
He took Instagram photos of himself in a Michael Vick jersey with his new pit bulls.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No.
He 100% did.
What was the thought process there?
Not a good one.
No.
If you're Kyler.
Come on, Kyler.
He's rehabilitated.
Was it a coincidence? Was it like, I got this new Vic jersey, I want to show it off, and then my dog walks into the frame? I'm like, come here, Buster.
He's petting the dog. No,
but it's like, that looks like a photo shoot that was designed to include the dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an all-timer. I mean, it's unbelievable how good sports are when we get this time. Who could even dream up something like that? And then it actually happens.
Yeah.
This is every day in sports. This is why we love sports, man.
I will say this. A guy that I have an immense amount of respect for, Aeneas Williams, was one of the people that helped to rehabilitate Michael Vick. And Aeneas listened to on the radio all the time. And so he had an interview with at his church and invited me. He said, you got to hear Michael Vick because he's a different guy now. So Aeneas wanted me to go. So I listened. And I do appreciate that Michael Vick has rehabilitated himself. He's the head coach now at some school in West Virginia or something like that.
High school?
No, college. Hampton?
Oh, that's right. I remember. I don't remember the school, but I remember it happening because we were talking about, I forget the former player that took over a college program and it worked really well. And we're like, hey, why not? I mean, that could work for that school as well. Bring a guy that was so good at the highest level. Why not?
Where is it? Norfolk State.
Norfolk State.
Because we're talking about him for Vatech, where he played.
That would be. And again, it's kind of like the Deion Sanders thing. It's like, wow, you go from Jackson State to Colorado. Now you've really made the big leap. Doesn't there need to be a step in between? Probably not. I mean, probably not when it's those FCS schools that are playing at a very high level. Vatech will definitely need a coach. That has been nightmarish. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that is something.
So, but I got the sense in hearing from Michael Vick with Aeneas that he had rehabilitated himself. So maybe this is just an homage by Kyler Murray to Michael Vick rehabilitating himself. Michael Vick I think he's allowed to have pets now.
Oh yeah. I don't think there is an angle that you could go, oh, this is
not in public perception.
Not when you take a photo shoot for it. Yep. That's nuts.
No, not great.
Well,
so he's got the 49ers on Sunday. Go Big Red.
Kyler's thing for a while was the video games, and now I think he's moved on to something else that people can snipe him about.
All right, so we're talking right now. It's Wednesday at 11:30. So we're closing in. Let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're 72 plus 6, 78 hours away from Mizzou in South Carolina. Where's your mind at right now?
My mind is that point spread that suggests Mizzou should blow them out is something that I hope doesn't find its way into that building, because it's not, I don't think it's that kind of game. I think it's a one score. It's like the Kansas game where Mizzou ended up winning by 11, but that's the vibe of the game where you might be down. You might have to grind through something. Don't be walking into there thinking you're supposed to win by 13.5 because some guy at DraftKings told you should. That is, go win the game.
And you've been a fan, you've been emotionally invested for a long time. Has Mizzou reached a point with selling out every game on a season ticket basis?
Shout out K-State, by the way.
Huge game. Yeah. Coming up. Is Fairfield going to be one of the harder places to play in the whole country, especially at night?
Yeah, especially after they get the renovations finished up. Like, it's right now you're kind of dealing with less than your best just because you can't put people in that side of the stadium, but they've closed it in to where like the sound holds. And yeah, I mean, the night game that was the opener was on the Thursday night against Central Arkansas. We didn't really get a good feel. This will be the first chance to really get a good feel of what that might look like at night. And they've changed it. They originally said it was gonna be a whiteout game. Yeah. They said, we're black. We're gonna black it out. And so that's gonna be fun. Yeah, I think it's the environment that that Eli Drinkwitz has harped on and wanted to build and bring. But with that, you have to win games to sustain, at least at the beginning. And I feel like this is a pivotal year for that, to sustain it for one more year, and then it just becomes the expectation.
As Ed Orgeron would say, go Tigers. Or as Eli would say, M-I-Z.
M-I-Z.
Working with you, sir.
Always.
I'll put those glasses back on just for a second.
Yeah, because we did talk Mizzou. That's my mistake.
Future's so bright.
The future is bright.
He's got to wear shades.
Got to do it.
Yep. Matthew Rocchio and Wilson getting us on the air. Thank you very much, Brenden. Always good to work with you. And thank you for tuning in. Of course, STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Don't forget, you can like this video. You can subscribe on YouTube. Watch all of Bernie's great videos. And we will see you tomorrow here on the Randy Karraker Show. So long. We did it.